Hey, everybody, John and Lance from the bench. Mornings on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Here to talk some Astros baseball. But first, hit subscribe so that you get all our content here on SportsMap HOU. The Astros got a couple of relievers, and one of them was given up for Miles Straw. I've been a big proponent of Chas McCormick getting more playing time with his power. You're losing something in center field, Lance, but that extra pop in the lineup, you never know what game he can change, which Miles Straw couldn't do. He just couldn't. Despite the fact that he homered in Cleveland already, he just wasn't going to do that all that here. I was a little surprised to see the Straw deal, though, and I didn't mind James Click's explanation. Hey, we needed another arm in the bullpen. We've seen that. They needed it. Maton's looked good so far, but I was a little surprised, weren't you, that they did that right before the deadline?
I mean, I was until I heard his explanation when he visited with Todd Callis and just said, look, we brought up Jake Myers from the minors. He was hitting the ball really, really well. So we brought him up. Now we got to move Chas McCormick over into a spot that we feel like he could be a better run producer. It really had nothing to do with Miles Straw, and it just had everything to do with having a surplus at that particular position. Led Mastias obviously came back and is hitting the ball as well. Let's face it, Abraham Toro was a victim of the same thing. They had so much depth that they felt like we can move these two players and move them for bullpen help, and that's what they did. So, dealing from a strength to fortify a weakness it's not the first time that's happened, so I can understand it. I thought it was interesting to see how many fans were disappointed with that move. I think Miles Straw had started to grow on people, but I also feel like he's got a finite ceiling. He's never going to be a power hitter. I think he's always going to be a very modest hitter at best. He can steal some bases. I think he can be a good defensive player. But right now, I think the Astros are really saying, look, if we're not good in the bullpen and if we're not banging out home runs, we're not going to win this World Series. And the Astros and every analytics-driven team, they value home runs. Well, that's just the way it is. And one guy hits him, McCormick, and another guy not so much in Straw.
Yeah, well, and hey, the first game, they put Tucker in center, Alvarez in left, and Brantley in right. So, you know what? They had to get the best bats in the lineup because they were in a National League city. So there's no room for Miles Straw anyway in that type of situation when you're trying to get as many big bats as you can in the lineup.
How about Fromber's at bat? Can we give a little shout out to Fromber, who almost his opening step, his stride was almost out of the box completely.
Stepping in the bucket? He was stepping
in a bucket.
He was stepping in. That's what I used to do as a little leaguer. I'm getting out the way. I really like what he did with the bullpen. He stayed under the luxury tax, which, you know what, I know people don't care about that, but it does help as far as compensatory picks goes in the future for next year. But he didn't get starting pitching. And right now the Astros starting pitching is struggling. And you don't have that big ace that you can go to. Fromber doesn't seem to be that same guy that he was last year and earlier this year. Luis Garcia, it's starting to catch up with him. Odorizzi is Odorizzi. Greinke is, going to be questionable because he just doesn't hump it up there as much as he does anymore. And of course, Lance McCullers is hit or miss as well. So is this rotation enough right now? Did James Click make a mistake by not going out there and getting a big-time starter?
Well, that's a good question, but before we get into that, I do want to talk about my friends over at carsforkids.org. It's an easy trip to the website. What they'll do is they'll come out to your home and they will haul off your car, SUV, RV, motorcycle, even if it's not running or not running, they take it. They partner with Houston Can Academy, and they help young people have a second chance at getting a diploma. This is your chance to write off that car and not the kid with my friends over at carsforkids.org. I think the big time starters, when you saw what the asking price was, and that was always my concern, is I don't think when the other teams whip out the minor league wallet and start chunking prospects at you, the Astros just aren't in that same position anymore. That's not where they are. And I think you would have had to trade players, potentially starters on your team to get that player like a Scherzer. I can't blame the Astros. They are still deep at pitching, and this may be, John, you and I have talked about this before. Baseball is always, peaks and valleys. Right now, you may just be in a little bit of a valley from a pitching standpoint. Urquidy has to get back to the team. When McCullers is on, he's very, very good. Greinke has his moments. Even when Fromber's walking people, he didn't give up a hit the other night. But I don't think there's any question Fromber doesn't look like the number one guy. Right now, you look like a team without a true ace. But the flip side of that is most teams would die for your level of quality from 1 through 6. I mean, this is as deep as the Astros have been 1 through 6, probably that I can recall. Provided you give Garcia his due for what he's done for most of the year.
Whether or not that's enough, come postseason, we shall see. It sure is nice to have that Verlander. It sure is nice to have that number one that's just a dominant ace, a Verlander-Cole combination in the postseason.
We're spoiled.
And you just don't have that anymore.
Yeah, we're spoiled. I mean, who gets Verlander and Cole?
Yeah.
These guys.
Yeah.
We had him, but now you know who gets him now?
Not these guys.
Now you know who gets him? Dodgers. It's Scherzer and Kershaw and Buehler, and boy, they got a lot of guys over there they can throw at you now.